January 20th, 2018, a day that would be remembered forever, where the hundreds of thousands who watched live would witness the unimaginable.
Jin Air, I think they've finally done it. 94 and a half minutes on the clock. They take it home, and Jin Air Green Wings take down SKT 2-1 in this best of 3 series. 12:09 at the end of the night. Breaking world records all around Jin Air. Enjoy that win.
94 minutes and 40 seconds, the longest professional League of Legends game in history. Jin Air survived SKT taking 6 Barons, 5 Elder Dragons and 13 inhibitors. And after keeping his team in the game and CSing 1,465 minions, Jin Air's second year ADC Teddy would become a household name. Next year, Teddy would join SKT and was set to become the face of the franchise alongside Faker. They would win 3 straight LCK titles together, but failed to achieve any international success. Then, in 2021, his third year with the renamed T1, new head coach Danny would introduce a 10-man roster, causing Teddy to share playing time with promising rookie Gumayusi. He would play the majority of the spring split, but in summer, with a new coaching staff replacing Danny, Teddy lost the starting role to Gumayusi. However, in the summer playoffs, they decided to bring Teddy back, and he led the team to a finals appearance, upsetting Gen G along the way. Teddy would struggle in the finals versus Damwon, and down 2-0, Gumayusi would sub back in, and T1 was far more competitive in games 3 and 4. After that, T1 stuck with Gumayusi for Worlds, and with the team outperforming expectations at Worlds, T1 no longer had a need for Teddy and would allow him to find another team. Teddy would then join Guangdong Freaks in 2022, and while the team did well in spring, reaching the semi-finals of LCK after beating future world champions DRX in the quarterfinals, the rest of the team around Teddy slumped in summer and they missed playoffs. After that, Teddy left Guangdong and wasn't on a team in spring this year. With no news about Teddy, his future was up in the air. But on April 11th, it was announced that Liiv Sandbox had replaced Envy with Teddy. Teddy was back, and on a playoff caliber team. While I don't believe they will be able to contend with Gen G and T1, in this video today, we'll take a look and see if after many close calls, would Teddy finally be the one to take Sandbox to Worlds. So how good will Teddy be in his return? Well, to try and work that out, let's take a look at the last team he played for, Guangdong Freaks in summer 2022. The team went 6-12 and had the 3rd worst game score in the split. Even though the team was losing, Teddy was still playing at a high level. While he wasn't comparable to the 3 All-Pro ADCs of the split, Ruler, Prince and Aiming, he was still playing at a similar level to Deft and Gumayusi. Looking at the stats, we can see that he was tied for 4th in CS per minute and 3rd in percentage of his team's damage. While Teddy has always been a great late game ADC, he's known to somewhat struggle in lane, and while his laning stats aren't great, we have to take into consideration that he was playing with 2 really bad supports. Besides his Nautilus, where the team went 5-2 when he played it, Hoyt just isn't an LCK caliber support. He was constantly getting caught in lane, failing engages, and was even worse on range supports, which was what the meta support champions were. So with Hoyt struggling, the team would rotate in Moham, and while he seemed to be playing at a higher level than Hoyt, the team actually would lose more games with him. So not only did Guangdong have to deal with switching between 2 struggling supports, they also had arguably the worst jungler of the split, Elam. He was in the bottom 2 in KDA, CS per minute, and damage per minute. Every game he would waste time in failed ganks and unnecessarily covering for his team, and by late game he would often be 2 to 3 levels down on the enemy jungler. On top of that, Keen, who was 3rd team All-Pro in spring, was playing very poorly for his standards. He would constantly die to ganks and would often take losing 1v1s, resulting in him having the most average deaths of all starting top laners. The only player besides Teddy who was actually playing to their own standards was Fate. He was never making mistakes or getting caught out, resulting in him having the third fewest deaths per game of all mid laners. But this is partially due to the fact that he is a super safe player, resulting in him having the lowest damage per minute of all mid laners. Fate is a below average mid laner, but he understands this and plays to let his team carry him. And while it worked in spring, with Keen struggling in summer, many games it really seemed like it was Teddy versus the world, so it's hard to judge off just that split how good Teddy will now be on Sandbox. It felt like if Teddy had better teammates around him, then he can still lead a team to playoff success. So then the question is, how good are his new teammates? Teddy will be joining Liiv Sandbox, who after a good start to the split, going 6-3 in the first round robin, would finish the split 10-8 and look very underwhelming in their round 1 playoff loss to KT. Liiv Sandbox's best player is definitely Kael, a support who has a massive champion pool and is probably the best mechanical support besides Carrier. Their jungler Willa has surprised everyone by being an above average jungler. He was best known for being one of the weak links on the 2021 Hanwha Life esports team that made quarterfinals at Worlds thanks to Chovy and Deft. After that, he only played 6 games on a terrible HLE team last year, and when he was set to be Sandbox's starting jungler, he looked to be their weakest player. But last split, he was always making proactive plays across the map, and even as the team started losing more near the end of the split, he would always be the one trying to make plays for his team to win. Sandbox's solo laners, top laner Birdall and mid laner Closer, are 2 players with insane mechanics and potential, but are extremely inconsistent. They can either carry games or be the leading factor in the team's losses. And while Closer is a bit better and more consistent than Birdall, for Liiv Sandbox to truly contend, they will both need to be making a lot less mistakes. Replacing their former ADC Envy with Teddy seems to be a good move, as even though Envy had his best split ever, he just doesn't have the ability to be on the same level as the Elite 5 ADCs that I talked about in my previous video, whereas Teddy has the talent, but at times he struggles to play to that potential. So, will Sandbox make Worlds? Well, I think it's unlikely, but by adding Teddy, this team now has the potential to make it. They still won't be able to compete with Gen.G or T1, and KT still should be better than them as they looked very good in playoffs, but all their players have had splits where they really struggled, and it is KT who are known to collapse. But realistically, Sandbox are competing for the 4th spot alongside D+ and Hanwha Life esports. D+'s strength solely relies on Canyon. If he can at least look somewhat like the player he used to be, D+ should be able to make Worlds, but last split he really struggled, and I don't know how he was the 3rd team All-Pro jungler. Hanwha Life is a team that reminds me of the Guangdong Freaks team that I talked about earlier in the video. Their support and jungler aren't great, their top is super inconsistent, and while their ADC Viper is playing at a higher level than Teddy was on Guangdong, the real difference between these 2 teams is their mid laners. While Fate was a super safe and consistent mid laner, Zeka is the exact opposite. If he can play well, this team should be better than Sandbox and have a real shot at Worlds. But if he looks like he did in the playoff match versus KT, then Hanwha Life is in real trouble. Sandbox will have an uphill battle against them. While bringing in Teddy is not only an upgraded ADC, but adds a veteran leader to a young team that struggled with decision making. Teddy struggled to be the leader on Guangdong, and having to integrate a leader into a team mid-year might have its challenges. But smaller teams have to take risks to beat the big orgs. This move could make the team worse, but the goal of every team is to try and win championships and make Worlds. And when Teddy is at his best, anything is possible.
Oh, this is scary. Here comes Kana, no knock-up, and now we got Baker in here. The Baron goes the way of Gen.G, but the cleanup is coming in for T1, and more stopwatches come through. Kana is just gonna go down, and Rascal is playing an awesome game here. able to come back from this huge deficit, and now they got the combo again, and it's up on Faker, but Teddy is alive, and Teddy's trying to go 1v3. He gets another one, and he's gonna get another reset. You don't have anything against Teddy in this game, nothing, as T1 are gonna take down the Nexus, and they will make it to the finals of the LCK, and they will secure their world spot.
Yeah, you're allowed to smile, Teddy. You can feel good about yourself, because that was some incredible craftsmanship coming out from the T180 carry.